What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here with AC. We're here for the Gridiron Gamble, week number 10. We're here to give you our picks against the spread, which games we feel you should bet on, which games we feel most comfortable that you can win money on, and all that stuff. So, AC, how'd you do last week? Last week, I know I did pretty good, so I was just wondering how you did. I think you did pretty good as well.
Yeah, like in my 4 games that I gave out, I was 3-0-1 with a tie because it did switch to 3.5. But right here, Oakland, Miami, I had Oakland -3, and they ended up winning by 3. So it was a wash. But I'll still take that. 3-0-1 was pretty solid for me.
Look at that. You got it all written down and everything over there.
Oh, yeah. I just used the same envelope as this week. And then here are my new picks. Boom. We'll get into those.
Now this week, it's a little bit more challenging for me this week. Last week, there were like some spreads that really stood out, and we're like, wow, we should take that for sure. Yeah. And that's why we won money on it, I guess. But it doesn't always work like that, but sometimes it does. This week, it's a little bit more challenging to go after some bets, so I would maybe caution this week a little bit more. I think Vegas is pretty much on it for the most part here. But I have 6 bets here that I can give you. I bet myself with the money line for 3 bets, just kind of flyer bets that maybe I could win because I feel like those teams have a good chance of winning straight up. So I went with the money line on those, but I also went with 3 separate bets with the point spread. And I think they're all different from AC's. So that's going to be interesting. So we have a more wide variety for you to choose from. Again, take our analysis, not necessarily who we're betting on, but take our net analysis and form it to your opinion. That's the best way to suggest this. If you don't want to bet, don't bet. But maybe if you're doing picks as well, you could do, put it in your picks or just take your opinion for, oh yeah, I was thinking about betting on that game. They kind of clarified some things for me. Now I'm going to go bet on it. So that's how you should take the advice.
Yeah, right. and I would say like this week, like we were talking about last week, like there were some spreads that like you looked at them, you're like, they're definitely covering, or winning big, which we saw. Like obviously the Rams was a big one like that. Detroit.
Our bet of the week was Detroit.
Yeah, it was Detroit. And then I think the Rams for me was pretty, I think what we talked about was like we were pretty set on the Rams beating the Giants as well. So like those two were like locks. This week, I always go on OddsShark and just see where the money's going. And normally they put a percentage, so it's like either 50-50 if the money's half. And this week, everything's pretty much around like 53%. So it's hard to gauge of what people are doing a little opposite. There's a couple.
What's the biggest bet of the week?
The biggest bet of the week is the Rams and Houston, which I have -11.5 at 63%. The money's going to the Rams. The next 61 is Dallas. 61 with Detroit as well, 61 with New England, and then the rest are like 53-54%. So it's normally there's a lot more of those 60s, sometimes 64 during a week. This week it seems some of these games with 5 points, 4 points, like there's some strange matchups that it's tough to really say because it could go either way. And then like in a game like you look at Chicago, Green Bay. Chicago's favored by 5.5. Yeah, great. But can Chicago really cover that 5.5?
Yeah.
Who knows? They might.
That's my problem. I think Chicago is 100% going to win that game.
I agree too.
It's not a bet for me.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Okay. Week number 10. Let's get to our picks. AC, what's your first bet of the week?
I'll go Detroit at home versus Cleveland, -11. I do like Detroit at home. We know Cleveland just has way too many problems. And I do think that Detroit win against Green Bay, they kind of, they still weren't great in the red zone, but they were a lot better. And I think you saw the emergence of Marvin Jones. Golden Tate had his best game in about 4 weeks because he had a good start and started getting more of those touches. Stafford looks good. And it looked like they started to have some sort of running game, which we haven't seen from them. Yes, against the Green Bay defense. But I just see this is a game Detroit now on a run, looking to go on a run for the final 7 games of the season or 8 games of the season. And I just think Detroit, this is a game that Detroit should win handily because now you're looking at a team that you think they can make the playoffs potentially. And these are the games they have to win and win convincingly, in my opinion. And I think Detroit can do that against Cleveland.
I would agree with you there. It's not one of my picks. I was actually debating it, but like, I just don't know. Like last week, obviously, when you take a look at last week, and they killed Green Bay in Green Bay, so that's basically backup for you right there. I feel like Green Bay is just as good, if not better, with the Browns without Rodgers even. So, and it's in Lambeau where the Lions haven't been able to win.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you. If I were to pick that game, I would go with the Lions all day long. Stafford's playing good ball. Marvin Jones is playing his best football for the Lions in a while. Golden Tate. So their offense is moving. It's playing well, and they should be able to score a lot of points. It's just, I don't know. Like, the Kaiser sucks, but, I agree with you there. I would agree with you.
I just when I looked at all the other spreads, I think this is the point of this season where the favorites get more points, but I think these teams start to beat up on other teams, right? I think we're getting to the point where, yes, it's been a bizarre
start giving up.
It's been a bizarre NFL season for, upsets or who knows what's going to happen week to week. But I think now I'm betting more on just the better teams that really need to win and win convincingly. And I think Detroit can do that against, probably the worst team in the league, Cleveland.
Okay. My first bet of the week, I don't really know the order here, to be honest with you. But I'll separate them here. So Buffalo, I'll put the ones that I did with money line separated from the ones that I took the point spread. So the ones that I took the point spread, let's start off with and this guy the Titans rule wanted me to talk about the Titans. I'm taking Cincinnati plus 4.5. I actually took them plus 5, I think. 5 or 5.5, one of those. But it's 4.5 now. So obviously people were jumping on Cincinnati. I think just this game is going to be close. I'm not convinced with Cincinnati. Again, we said that one of our bets was Baltimore last week. Baltimore ended up covering that. That was in Tennessee. This game's in Tennessee as well. But I look at Cincinnati. I look at this game kind of like schematically, and Cincinnati's defense is very good. And I look at Tennessee's defense, and sure, the Ravens weren't really able to expose that secondary because they're not a good passing team. But with Andy Dalton and with AJ Green, I think they should be able to pass the ball against this defense, even despite them kind of not having some good performances. But that's been against a tough schedule with some tough defenses. Whenever the Bengals have actually played a good, like a bad defense, they've been able to score. It's been matchup dependent for them. But if they can score, I think Cincinnati is really going to slow that run game down for Tennessee. And this game's going to be tight all game long. I think it's going to come down to a field goal. So that's the reason why I think either way, I almost picked Cincinnati to win this game outright. I picked Tennessee in the long run and in the end. But I think I'm just not convinced with the Titans. I think everybody's looking at their record like they're a better team than they actually are. And I'm not convinced with them, to be honest. So I look at that defense, still a little bit skeptical with pass defense. And I think Cincinnati can move the ball in this game. And I think that Cincinnati's defense is good. So it's going to be a close one for me. So that's my thought. Cincinnati plus 4.5.
Yeah, like gun to the head, I'd have to disagree with you because I do think Baltimore is a better team than Cincinnati. And take that as you want. But I do think, I think Cincinnati might have a better offense, but we show they haven't clicked. But I do think that Baltimore defense is very underrated the way they played. Well, I think they're a top 8 defense in the league right now. I'm not sold on Cincinnati's defense. It's going to be really close. That's why I don't even want to touch it because of that. 5.5 is a lot. And we've seen with Tennessee that they haven't really closed out. Like they haven't won for double digits, I don't think, this season. They probably have maybe one game, maybe 2 games.
They won, I think, once or twice. But yeah.
But I'm just saying they haven't really shown. And if you look at them, they're 5-3 and they're 3-4-1 against the spread. But the Bengals are also are just exactly every game they've won, they've covered. Every game they've lost, they haven't. But yeah, gun in the head, I like Tennessee more just because I do think they're going to win this game. But yeah, the points is nice to have because, like you said, if you're not doing the money line, take the points, and it's going to be a close game. But I do think Tennessee is the better team, and they should win this one.
I just think this is going to be like a super close game, and I almost picked Cincinnati, so that's like the reason why I went with this. And I think Cincinnati's pass defense is going to give the Titans a little bit of issues because the Titans are 27th throwing the ball. Bengals are 5th against the pass. So as long as they can kind of slow down Murray, who's a little banged up, and Henry in the run game, I think that's going to be it's going to be a close one. Both offenses are in the bottom and third down percentage. So I don't know. I just think that these teams are closer than the records indicate, and the schedules kind of determined what their record actually is at this point, because Cincinnati has played some good teams. They've lost to Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. They lost to the Texans and the Ravens. So those are all pretty good teams. And then for the Titans, they've probably had one nice win this season.
Yeah, against Seattle.
It's against Seattle. They've also beat the Browns, the Colts, and they beat the Jaguars early in the season, which was a bizarre win, but they did it. They did nonetheless. And they also, they lost to the Raiders. They lost to the Texans. They lost to the Dolphins. So I think I don't know. I think it's going to be a close one. Yeah. What's your second pick?
Okay, before we get in, I was going to save this one to the end because it's kind of my last pick that I'm comfortable with, but I think Tampa Bay is going to finally get a game in the win column. I think they potentially could be a better team with Fitzpatrick. I think that they need this win more than the Jets need the win. I think we're going to see that the Jets aren't as good as their record shows. I think, yes, McCown's been very good, but I'm betting more on Fitzpatrick. I think their offense, Fitzpatrick's going to be able to get the ball into the playmakers' hands more so than I think Winston has been. And I think he can somewhat turn this team around, even if it's just for 1 week. And it's 2.5. So they're underdogs at home against the Jets. And it's tough. I know the Jets have been good, and maybe I don't give them as much credit as I should. But I do think Fitzpatrick, obviously McCown was a good choice to bring in to be their quarterback. But I do think they should have paid Fitzpatrick to be their quarterback, because I do think he's very underrated, and I think he's going to sling the ball around, and I think it's going to be a shootout. I think this is going to be tons of offense, but I do think they are the underdogs, and I think they can pull out a very close win. If not, it's 2.5, so a field goal would lose it, but I still think it's going to be a really close game. It's going to be a shootout, and I think Tampa Bay finally gets a win after many weeks of very subpar football.
I gotta disagree with you. I'm going with the Jets here. This is actually one of my picks. I have the Jets -2.5. I understand that they're on the road, but I watched the Bucks play last week, and obviously it wasn't their best performance because I fell for the Bucks trap last week. I just think people are still, and I think you're still falling into the trap of the Bucks are supposed to be good and they're not, and I just don't think they're playing for their coach. I think they all hate their coach. I think, I don't disagree with you that Fitzpatrick being at quarterback might help them. I don't disagree with you there. It might. And I think this will be a close game. But the Jets have been playing really good football. They stomped the Bills. Their defense is better than people think. They have one of the, I've never really said this, I don't think, but they have one of the best safety tandems in the league. And both of them are rookies. So look out for them in the future. Their defense is good. The Bucks are without Mike Evans. That's huge. Their defense can't stop anybody. So I just don't know if I'm convinced that the Bucks can win this game with hot Josh McCown. Yes, Matt Forte is out, but Powell looks better than him. The kid McGuire isn't bad. They've been able to run and pass and use many different weapons to their disposal. So I don't know. The Jets just are playing so much better than the Bucks that I wouldn't be comfortable with going with the Bucks in this game. Could you explain why, you feel comfortable going against a team that's playing as hot as the Jets are?
Well, first of all, they're 4-5, and this is the first game that they've even been favored in all season long. So I think that changes things a bit because, yes, they're good against the spread when they have been the underdogs because they've been the underdogs pretty much every game. And I think when I see Vegas, all of a sudden Jets is the favorite. I think this is because
I think people are finally giving the Jets some respect.
Yeah, they might be, but I still feel like this isn't a playoff team, and this is one of those games that it's going to be like the Jets couldn't beat Tampa Bay, and now now they're going to be 4-6 if they lose this game. I think it brings them back down to earth a bit. Yeah, the defense is playing good, but just as a gut feeling, I've been good at picking games this year, and just as a gut feeling, I think Tampa Bay pulls this off because of the leadership of Fitzpatrick, and I think they might play with him once they see him out there doing his thing. I think the team might come around Fitzpatrick more than they are their coach or even Winston. It's more of a gut thing.
How do you feel about Mike Evans not playing in this game?
Yeah, no, it's difficult, but I think, with Fitzpatrick, he's just going to sling the ball around. He's played with a lot worse receivers in his career than, and he's been able to at least produce numbers. That's why I think their offense is going to go off if they lose. I think for me, even picking this game and they lose by a field goal or something, I still think that's better than what most people are thinking. I think a lot of people think Tampa Bay is not that great. I think maybe the Jets can win on a last-second field goal, whatever. But I do think Tampa Bay is going to stay with them every step of the way, and I think it's going to be a couple key plays in the second half that's going to swing this game. But I think Tampa Bay can stay with them. If Tampa Bay gets down early, I think it's going to be a huge problem. But I also think if the Jets get down early, I don't think we've seen them be able to come back as much as, obviously, because every game's been close with them, basically. But yeah, no, I just gut feeling. I just think this is a game that Tampa Bay can win.
All right. My last one is the Chargers +5. Playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, obviously. A lot of people think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to run over the Chargers. I don't really think so. I think this game's going to be close. I like the 5 points, specifically with a Chargers team that always plays every team in the entire league tight, no matter who it is, no matter if it's the best team, no matter if it's the worst team. They find a way to have the game within 3 points at the end of the day. You're getting 5 here with a team that is playing really good defense. They're able to rush the passer. They're top 3 in that regard. They have the best duo on the edge of anybody in the league. And I think whenever Blake Bortles is going to drop back, he's going to have a guy in his face. Now the issue is going to be, can they make him drop back? Can they slow down that run game with Fournette? I think that their run defense has been better the last 3 weeks. It was not good at the beginning of the year, but the last 3 to 4 weeks, it's really tightened up, and that's why their defense has been even better than it was. And I don't see any receivers that really scare you on that side, so I think they'll really pack the box and try and stop that run game. I think this is going to be a defensive game. The Jags obviously have the best defense, in my opinion, in the league, and I think they'll be able to stop, Phillip Rivers. But I wouldn't be surprised if Melvin Gordon has a decent game here. The Jags are only, I think, like 30th against the run. A lot of that has to do with the way that they rush the passer. They do a lot of stunts at the line and stuff, and it really Melvin Gordon, I think, and their coach Anthony Lynn will kind of devise a game plan to work against that. And another thing that the Jags do struggle with when they do struggle in the pass game, which is very rarely, is tight ends. And I think that the Chargers, with Hunter Henry and Antonio Gates, will be able to get down the middle of the field and work that way. And the Chargers just have so many receivers that even if Allen isn't open and even if Williams isn't open, that they also have Benjamin and all these other guys that can really work in the middle of the field. And I think that's where that's where the Chargers will focus. And with Phillip Rivers, I just think I'm taking him at the end of the game to make it close or to win the game over Blake Bortles. Simple, end of discussion. I just think he can make it at least close there. Where Blake Bortles, I don't think
that a lot. We've been saying that a lot for Phillip Rivers, and Phillip Rivers have had chances in the fourth quarter, and he hasn't done it this year like he has done in the past. He's had a lot of chances.
But he's made the games close at the very least.
No, I know, but then they've had that last ball possession many times this season, haven't been able to get it done. If we look at the box scores.
Okay, if they would have kicked 2 free field goals, we wouldn't be saying that.
But that was at the beginning. That was at the beginning of the season. I'm saying recently, some of their losses, they've had a chance and been in games, and they haven't been able to get a touchdown when they needed it. I'm just still not on the Chargers, and I'm staying away from this because I think 5 points, I think it potentially could be close, but I think the Jags defense is way too strong. And I think Bortles has been playing better the last 3 weeks, even without Fournette. Look what their offense is doing. Obviously, field position is huge, but I just in my opinion, I would stay away from this just because I do think that Jags defense is the best defense in the league. I think Bortles has been being played better. It has been playing better without even Fournette. And I think their offense is getting more confident than they have. And I just think the Chargers, I think they blew it. I think losing last week or whatever it was, like they had a chance around there when they're 3-4, but now they're 3-5, and now it's just not looking good because they're going to have to run the table the rest of the way to make the playoffs. And at 3-5 at this position, I just don't think they have enough to. See,
I think the Chargers are the best team with a losing record.
Potentially.
So I think like they're going to make it close. I think they're going to be right in the running. As I've said all season, I think they're going to be right in the running to get that playoff spot. And I think this is a game that they could potentially win. Yes, it's in Jacksonville, but it's not like the Chargers have a home field anyways. They play better on the road. So
no, for sure.
I don't know. I think this game's going to be close. I could see maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars get like a fumble return or an interception return, and it changes the game. But I think when looking at these two teams, they're very similar. I just think that I don't know. I just think the Chargers are too good of a team to lose by more than 5 to the Jaguars. So that's my opinion.
No, and I understand that, but also we're talking about the Jaguars, who we have to give them credit as well. It's like
I am giving them credit. They're the best defense in the league. They're a playoff team. They're probably the team that I wouldn't want the Patriots to play in the playoffs. So I'm giving them all the credit in the world. I just think the Chargers are a team that makes everybody fight till the end. So
true.
AC, what is your third? Is it your third bet or your fourth?
Yeah,
bet?
my third bet. Rams minus 11.5 against Houston. The Rams are proving that they are a complete team right now. Their offense is clicking. Surrounded by Gurley and then Goff out of play action. I think a lot of receivers are stepping up. We're seeing Watkins look as good as he ever has. They have Woods, Kupp. I just think that this is a team where Houston has proved that their defense is not where it was. Number two, they've seen it that they're not going to win any games with Savage or any backup you put in there. They're just not as complete. Their offensive line's not great. Miller's had a very underwhelming season, and then you haven't really had any guys to get those guys the ball besides Watson. But I think Watson, it helped him being able to move around in the pocket and being quick. And I just see the Rams at home. Rams are trending in the right direction. This is a game they win by a lot because I just don't know how that Houston offense is even going to score a touchdown. They might get one, but I think Rams are going to be able to put up at least 20 points. Whatever happens, I could see this being like a 20-7, but that's enough for a cover. Like some sort of score like that, maybe 25-10, 20, something like that. So I just think that the Rams right now are going, and they're a great team against the spread this season. They've covered a lot. They've been my bet a lot, and it's been working out. So I'm just going to keep riding the LA Rams cover train for a bit longer here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't have anything to argue against. Rams offense is playing awesome. Their team is playing awesome. They killed the Giants. The only thing I could say is maybe the Rams will have a bad game. I don't know. Yeah. That's it. That's really the only thing I can say.
I don't know, like what we've seen with Savage.
Savage sucks. The Texans are nothing without Watson. I said that before he went down, and he went down, and their defense is not there anymore. They can't cover. I think the Rams are going to put up more than 20-something. I think they're going to put up 30-something. And I think that the Texans, they might score like 17, but I think it's going to be like 34, 38, 17. So I think you're going to cover pretty easily there. So I agree with you.
And even too, like I think the Rams too are looking over like a beat up Seattle team.
Seattle's done, bro. I tried to convince the Kev Meisters over there, but he wasn't taking it.
No, and they're still be good, but with no Richard Sherman, never seen this. We've never seen this. Richard Sherman ever. Like we've never seen them.
Seahawks aren't making the playoffs.
Like I don't know if they can anymore. We've never seen this defense without the best corner in the last 10 years, 8 years, whatever, how long he's been in the league. Like he is the best. He shuts down one side of the field and you only can look on that other side. And like now I just don't like Shaq Griffin. I guess they still have Lane, but I don't even know what they do. They're mediocre now. They're without, and especially without Earl Thomas.
They were mediocre before.
I know, but I still like that defense because Sherman could shut down the side of the field.
Okay, their defense was good. I meant their team. because they can't run the ball. Russell Wilson runs around for 15 seconds to throw the ball every play.
Yeah.
They still can't really block that well. Their receivers, they have Doug Baldwin. Jimmy Graham's playing better, but like the rest of them are just one trick pony, one play for 40 yards down the field. Their defense isn't as good as it used to be. Their pass rush primarily isn't as good as it used to be. Cliff Averill not being there hurt a lot.
And I think Frank Clark, I don't know, like being in Vancouver.
They have a lot of like pretty good guys.
But people love Frank Clark, but it's not the same as it when it was Cliff Averill, Bennett in their prime. It's not the same. Like Frank Clark's like mediocre. I hate when Seahawks fans are just like, oh, Frank Clark. It's just because whoever they put in there is the best defensive end in the league. They just that's what we always hear. Chancellor's
hurt. Earl Thomas is hurt. Sherman's out. I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Okay. Let's get to my money line bets, but like you could also take the point spread here. It's just this is a point spread show, so I'm gonna give you the point spread, but these are like the ones that I took, and not necessarily because like I'm like full on. I think this is 100%. Like they're gonna win. It's just kind of like flyers because of the money that you could potentially get back with the bet. That it's maybe worth it for me, and especially because I'm getting 2 out of 3. So if I get 2 out of 3 right, then I win decent money. So my first one is Washington to win against the Vikings. They're at home. The point spread is right now 1.5. I think I picked Washington to win the game in our picks. I really like the way that Washington's played despite the injuries. They went into Seattle when they were healthier, and even in Seattle, even with a bad team, is tough to do. Against the Vikings, they're at home. I look at the Vikings, Case Keenum. Yeah, they have Diggs back. I don't think the Vikings will be able to run the ball as successfully as they have been against this Washington defense. Washington is really good up front, and I think that will slow down, force Case Keenum to throw the ball. Norman's there. He'll take Diggs out of the game. It'll be Thielen in the slot, and I think they'll be able to move the ball like that, but I don't think they'll be able to move the ball to great success. And yes, the Vikings defense, top 3 in the league. Nothing really to say about that, but if Kirk Cousins, who's been making plays versus everybody at certain times with limited talent, can make a play, I think this game is going to be really close. It could go either way, indicated by the spread. I just like Washington at home. I think they really need to win this game to, get to potentially make the playoffs. I think they're better than their record shows. And I think that they're a talented team that not a lot of people are really giving the respect to. They've had a couple of bad games against the Cowboys, against the Eagles, but those were both divisional foes. Outside the division, they've been great. And I think the Washington does actually win this game here.
Yeah, I don't mind it, and I could see it. I'm just still not as sold as Washington because I haven't seen them. Yes, that was a clutch performance against Seattle, but besides that, we haven't really seen it. Yeah, they had a good win against the Rams earlier in the season.
That's the type of victory that brings a team together.
Yeah, no, it might. And I think, And
Jordan Reed should be back this week, hopefully.
No, and now that Bridgewater is healthy, this could be a game too. If Keenum has a bad game, then this whole switches. And even with their record, if Keenum has a bad game, they're going to Bridgewater very soon. And then that just changes the whole team dynamic, I think, for the Vikings. I honestly
don't think Bridgewater is that great, but he is a little bit better than Keenum.
No, exactly. And look what they've been doing with Keenum. We'll see what happens there. But I just do think, though, Washington was decent against Seattle, but I still think they have struggled against good defenses that can get to Kirk Cousins, right? Look at when they played.
I don't disagree. I think this is going to be like a 17-14.
Yeah, like against a good pass rush, they have struggled. Against the Eagles, against the Cowboys, they haven't been able to do what they want. Plus, they've had a non-existent run game. It's always been Kirk Cousins, which I think is great. I think Kirk Cousins is one of the better quarterbacks in the league, but I just think it's definitely potential, especially at home. And this is a game that, the Vikings are kind of due for a loss, in my opinion, just the way their record sets up. And when you look at them,
if you actually look at it,
is so good that they always have great field position. And then they have been able to run the ball well with Murray and pass to McKinnon out of the backfield. So like they have a simple offense, right? That they can move the ball, get into field position, get a touchdown here and there, and then their defense has been able to shut teams down. That I think Minnesota plays so much better with the lead. They've had a lead pretty much in every game. It's going to be interesting if I'm the Redskins, you got to score right away and make that offense kind of be like, oh shit, now we actually have to score points. There's pressure on us to score points. So that's going to be interesting. I think obviously that's the number one thing in that game is if the Redskins can put some points up early in the first half.
Vikings are coming off a bye, which you know how I feel about byes.
Yeah.
Other than playing in London, they have played 2 games on the road, and one of them was a win by 3 against the Bears, and one of them was a loss to the Steelers. So the rest of their games they've won at home. The Saints, the Bucks, the Packers without Aaron Rodgers, the Ravens, the Browns. That's a pretty easy schedule. Not gonna lie. So yeah, we'll see what happens. The Redskins are definitely more battle tested, but you would have to say the Vikings are the better team at this point. I just think Washington at home gonna need it bad. So, what's your next bet?
Should we quickly take a break, go to the comments?
Sure, why not? Okay, so 10 likes, guys. Thanks for that. Let's go to the comment. So starting off, Kill 'em Boys is in there. He says, Marty B is back. Yes, Marty B is back. He is going to be playing with a torn rotator cuff, which is going to be very interesting. But nonetheless, he's still going to catch more passes than Dwayne Allen. He says, we are going to blow out the Broncos. I hope you're right. He says, hopefully Marty B plays. He practiced. Oh, well, I guess because he wasn't there on Wednesday or Thursday. So he practiced yesterday. He might play. I don't know if he will, but he might. We'll see. But I definitely am happy Marty B is back. Gives them that legitimate second tight end. And if he can heal up and really be a good tight end, he was good in that system last year, even without Gronk. Adam in there, and we could potentially see what we were supposed to see with the 2 tight ends. And then Allen is a pretty good third tight end there. So I like what the Patriots have at that position, and I like what they did there. It was there was no losing in that situation by picking up Marty B. So I love it. And plus he gives like a good attitude to the team, which I've always liked Bennett. He also says Chris Hogan is out. We're going to miss him. The Broncos might contain our offense. They might to a certain degree, but I look at this game. I know AC is going to talk about it. We saw what the Eagles did. I think the Patriots are going to attack them a little bit differently, though. And I actually wouldn't be surprised, and AC's been talking about this, that Aqib Talib is maybe slowing down. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Brandon Cook's long touchdown against Aqib Talib. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think they're primarily going to attack him with Gronk, with their tight ends, and then with the running backs. And I think that's going to be the way that they go. So I think they'll score in the 20s probably, but I don't think the Broncos are going to score very many points with Brock Osweiler. Ultra says, I'm like 10 bottom line view power rankers. What? Okay. Here's his power rankings. Ultra says, my top 10, the Eagles, number 1. The Patriots, number 2. The Steelers, number 3. The Rams, number 4. The Saints, number 5. The Vikings, number 6. Cowboys, number 7. 8, the Chiefs. 9, the Seahawks. And 10, the Jaguars. Do you disagree with any of those?
No, I actually like the Chiefs being that high and the Seahawks. I could see the Jaguars being ahead of the Seahawks. In my opinion, but
they play this year, which I said that to Kev they're going to lose that game, but we'll see.
Well, no, because I wanted to get to the comments too, because our boy, the Seahawks fan, Knever Jollywood, he says, yeah, we're still 6-3, but we have an easy schedule. And I remember I'm like, the Seahawks maybe have the hardest schedule to finish off. Right? They play.
We'll get to Mr. Jollywood. We'll get.
But I just I want to say to everyone what the Seahawks final schedule is like, and it's not easy whatsoever. It's probably, it seems to me, looking at this, it's one of the hardest final 7 games.
What do they have? They have Jacksonville. They have Philly. They have Dallas.
First to go Falcons on Monday night at home, which who knows what happens if Falcons win this week against Dallas. I think that changes things for that game a bit. They go 49ers, but then their final 5 games, they go Eagles, Jaguars, Rams, Cowboys.
Yes, that's the thing.
Those are 4 very tough games.
This is what I said to Kev.
Easy.
We discussed this on, was it this Monday or Sunday Night Football? Monday night, right? So I discussed this with Kev. And I said that 4 weeks is going to determine your season. Mm-hmm. If you win 2 of those games, you're going to make the playoffs.
For sure.
If you lose 1 or all of those games, you're definitely not making the playoffs.
Yeah. Like, that's tough, especially we'll see what the Jaguars are at, but like they have to travel all the way to the East Coast for that Jags game, which I think Seahawks against Jaguars at home, maybe you're not too worried, but like going all the way over there. And I think the Jaguars are going to have something to prove against the Seahawks. The Eagles, who knows, at home, but they play the Cowboys on the road. And I think that Rams game now, I think the Rams right now are the better team, regardless of who's playing at home or not.
And they were the better team in that first game, not going to lie.
No, I agree. Like, yeah, it's just a couple bad plays here and there.
Titans Rule says, every time you make a live stream, you never talk about the Titans, you hater. We talk about the Titans every week. We do picks every week. And the Titans aren't on prime time very much, so we don't really have a chance to talk about them. And then I just bet against them, so how about that? Ivan says, Super Bowl thoughts. I hate the Patriots. AC, any thoughts on the Super Bowl? As your team is already planning the parade?
No, not at all. No, just people want to do that. So then people want to hype the Eagles up because those are the same people that are hyping the Eagles. They're going to make the Super Bowl, that when they do not make it or something, they're going to be like, I told you they stunk. It's everyone else that's trying to hype up the Eagles. It's not Eagles fans trying to hype up the Eagles Super Bowl. It's a lot of other people that are just saying it because they don't have any skin in the game. I think a true Eagles fan wouldn't be talking about the Super Bowl whatsoever right now, week by week. Let's just keep it going. That's what our coach, our leader, Coach Peterson's saying to the team. I'm part of the team that way. Let's listen to the coach and not what just non-Eagles fans are saying. Like, yeah, they look great, but I'm never one to be like, yeah, we're going to Super Bowl. Week by week, a first round bye would be great. Play at home because we're undefeated at home this season. That's all I'm looking for. It's just each week win, and we're on to Dallas.
Kill 'em boys says, what happened to Malcolm Mitchell? We need as many weapons as we can. He's hurt right now. I don't think he's coming back this season. Titans Rule. There's a reason why we don't talk about Titans. He says he likes my shirt. Thanks, man.
I'm actually, like, we've talked about it. I'm more of a you guys are not fans of the Titans. I've been somewhat positive about the Titans all season long.
I've been negative.
Yeah.
Not going to lie, I've been negative.
No, that's cool. They're an iffy team that way, right? You can't really put your finger on what they're going to do week to week.
Yeah.
Especially how their run game, they've been doing it with not the greatest run game when we thought that was their main part of their offense, right?
I think they've just been better because they've been playing shitty teams. I'm not going to lie. True. Ultra says Patriots have historically struggled in Denver. In 2015, Denver thrashed New England apparently twice that year. Apparently they thrashed them twice. Once that 1 year, once with a weaponless Patriots offense, and also Osweiler played that game. Patriots are still going to win 24-17. Well, I want to correct you with the thrashing. First off, the Broncos came back in the first game where the Patriots had Chris Harper playing wide receiver. They lost in overtime with the C.J. Anderson long run. And then in the playoffs, I can make excuses for that, but the game came down to a 2-point conversion. So it wasn't a thrashing. But I agree with you. The Patriots have historically struggled in Denver. That's mostly because Denver has been good.
Yeah. Exactly.
But their home field is also really good. So you got to give that to them.
Their defense.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that game in a little bit. Titans Rule says we're beating the Steelers. Okay, see that. Bengals are ass. They're 3-5. Bodo says, hey guys, what's going on, Bodo? Ultra says, sorry Titans fan, but you're 3 miles behind the Pats, Steelers, and Chiefs. You're barely better than the Jaguars. Actually, I don't think you're better than the Jaguars. I'd actually have the Jaguars ahead of the Titans. How do you feel about that, AC?
Yeah, you'd have to have them ahead. But like I'm saying, sometimes if you're a record, they're 5-3, especially in that division that everything's been going. They have a couple, at least a couple division wins in there that help them out. And especially in that division, you can be very mediocre most of the season, but as long as you compete in those division games and come up above 500 at the end of the day, I think that's the team that's going to win the division, because I think most of these teams are going to be around 500. But just the way Jags have progressed, like I said, like their offense is starting to play better, plus their defense.
I think Jags are going to go like 10-6.
No, yeah, potentially. But we'll have to see.
Bodo says, first of all, Titans fans, y'all couldn't beat us in hockey. You sure as hell ain't going to beat us in football. Killing Boy says, Blake finally not throwing interceptions and throwing touchdowns, making the playoffs. Great accomplishment. Bucks have a better quarterback now, says Bodo.
That's what I think. What is
all
this
y'all
anyway?
guys hating on the Titans and giving Jags all the respect. Matt Castle was playing.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens in that game.
Titans is an average team, says Killing Boys. Chargers going from West Coast to East Coast always suck. Good point. Oh, here we go. Mitch, be quiet. We still have Russell Wilson, and we're fucking making the playoffs. How about that?
Yeah, maybe. And then Blake Bortles GOAT just said the Seahawks beat the Eagles last year 26-15, but reminding in that game the Eagles were a crap team and Seahawks were supposed to be a good team, and they only lost because of a 65-yard touchdown got taken back because Nelson Aguilar didn't know how to line up properly. So we'll take that game. But the Seahawks, I just still don't. They still have a chance, obviously, but those 4 games are gonna be tough. Those are 4 teams that are gonna be almost double-digit wins by the time they play, potentially, right? Like, that's tough.
Chauncey wants you to know about Supergirl. I don't think Adam watches Supergirl.
Not at all.
Cullen Boy says, Marcus is not on Tom Brady's level, not even on Edelman's level as a quarterback. Interesting. Saints are going 7-2, says Michael.
Yeah, maybe.
Bodo says Bridgewater has a better arm and is more mobile. I wouldn't say that. I don't think he has a better arm than Case. He is more mobile, though. That's it, pretty much. There's a lot more comments, a lot of garbage. You guys are just arguing too much. If you have any questions here, let us know. AC?
Okay, well, I'll go to my final game. We've talked about it enough. New England -7.5. I don't really like that half point, but I do think New England's just going to dominate Denver. Denver, it looks like they've quit a bit, which I love. That was like Kevin, and same with Skip Bayless. Like when the Eagles dominated Denver, that was the storyline for Eagles haters. You know what I mean? That was the storyline for Eagles haters, that they were just like, oh, did they not quit? Did Denver? What I saw was a team that quit. I'm like, who made them quit? Who put up the points to make them quit?
Hey, but they're going to the Super Bowl.
Well, no, they're not going to the Super Bowl. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just week by week. But I'm just saying, like, Kevo was just like, I don't want to say this, but it seems to me like, did Denver quit? It's like totally disregarding what the Eagles did. And just they were trying to make that the storyline that the Broncos quit. I'm like, who made them quit? Who put up points and who ran 200 yards against the second best rush defense? That's the one in this game. I just think New England is a much better team. And now I think you're going to see New England start to take over a bit more. Their defense is getting better. Denver is just not good. And I think that's what it comes down to. New England, I don't think are as good as last year, but I don't think they need to be as good as last year because that's just the way the league is this year, that they just have to do their job. They can make this New England team this year can still make mistakes because there's not a lot of top tier talent out there that they can make mistakes and still win games, right? I think we've seen New England win pretty much every single type of way that we normally don't see them win. And I think they deserve credit in that regard because they're not doing it the traditional way that we've seen New England Patriots do it in the past. They're winning. It's like they win 10-point games, but the games seem a lot closer than 10 points. You know what I mean?
last week or last 2 weeks ago, because they had their bye, the last time they played against the Chargers, that should have been like a 20-point win. And somehow it was only like an 8-point win.
No, and then, exactly. Yeah.
And then people could argue that it could have been like a 2-point win. Like, it's weird how that game happened. Like, from my perspective, it should have been a 20-point win. From another perspective, it could have been a 2-point win. So it's just weird how games are working.
But
out.
I just think like it might be like maybe Denver might surprise them a bit, but I still think New England wins by double digits in this one. I don't think Denver's very good at all. Osweiler, they put in a program for Osweiler, like don't turn the ball over, and he just still makes stupid throws, just like Simeon did. And that's what I wasn't expecting against the Eagles, because I thought all he had to do was just not turn the ball over. Do I think Denver's going to be able to run more than they did last week against the Eagles? Yes, but I think New England's going to be able to put up points that they're going to have to throw the ball, and it's going to come down to Brock Osweiler, which he's not going to be able to get it done, because the way we could see that the Eagles. They only gave up 45 yards rushing against a good Denver normally runs the ball pretty well, right? And they just didn't look very good. I think Anderson's lost a step a bit. Charles is like 50 years old. So I just think New England's going to go, and this is a somewhat of an easy game for New England. I know they struggle in Denver, but this Denver team is not anywhere near what we've seen before.
Yeah. And I think with Denver, it's like, or with Denver, Osweiler made some terrible throws. Like, there were some guys that were open in that game, but he just couldn't hit them. He was bad. Same as Simeon. And their offensive line isn't getting enough recognition for how bad it's played over the last couple of weeks. Patriots-wise, Gilmore and Rowe expected to suit up this week. It's going to be interesting to see if the Patriots fans still talk about Gilmore being the weakness of this defense, or if he'll become a strength. We'll see what happens. So that's AC's final bet.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, because I do agree with you, right? Like, it's been funny how that's worked. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just say something to Jollywood again? Because he keeps on coming out with just facts that are wrong. He says,
Go ahead, attack him.
No, he just says, so you're saying we lose the Eagles at home with Earl Thomas and Russell? Yeah, two guys are going to win the game. Plus, remember, Eagles never beat Seahawks in Seattle. Yes, they have in 2008, and they've only played 3 times after that. So that's completely wrong. To say Eagles never beat Seahawks in Seattle, that's just an incorrect statement, because they actually did in 2008. So that's just wrong. So you lose.
Were you at that game?
I was actually at that game, yes.
Nice. Okay. My final 2 money lines, we haven't discussed. I'll just throw them out there. Dallas against Atlanta. I think Dallas is going to beat the Falcons this week. Even without Zeke, I was a lot more confident with Zeke. But even without Zeke, I just think this is the better football team. Atlanta, they make plays because they still have good players. Like, they have Julio, they have Freeman, they have Matt Ryan. But their coaching has been awful this year, specifically on offense. Every defense they play against seems to have them figured out. Dallas's defense has been playing some good football. It's going to be interesting to see how they travel, but their pass rush is legit. Lawrence, Irving, they're playing really well. John Lee is playing really well. And then that offense, I think, will be able to work the ball down the field even without Zeke in this game, because I think their offensive line, their physicality up front will be able to dominate a small, speedy defensive line in the Falcons. And I think they'll be able to run and work that play action off of it and all the stuff that Dak does really well. So I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to score some points. And I'm just, besides Julio killing the Cowboys, I don't really see how the Falcons are going to be able to consistently move the ball and score a lot of points to keep up with the Cowboys. So actually, I'm not only the +3.5, but I'm taking them to win the game straight up. And the last one here is Buffalo. I know that they played terrible against the Jets, but this is just one of those games. The game's in Buffalo. It's just one of those weird games. Could snow. There could be dildos thrown on the field. You never know in Buffalo. It's a crazy place to play. I just think the Saints might be up, might go down this week, might have a loss, but it's going to be an interesting one. The Bills have played really, really well at home this year. They've been scoring a lot of points at home. And yeah, their defense didn't play so great last week, but I think they'll be able to balance it out. Benjamin will get his first start this week for Buffalo. Charles Clay will be back for Buffalo. Their defense, I think, will pressure Drew Brees a little bit. Now, this could be an unexpected shootout because I think that the Bills will be able to run the ball and move the ball against the Saints. But I just think in Buffalo, it's always a tough – when you never play there regularly, it's always a tough one. And there's always one of those games every year that the Bills beat a team that they're not better than. And here I just think that all the matchups to me kind of like indicate that this might be a win for the Bills. But that's the one I'm least confident on. The other ones, I think Washington and Dallas, I think I'm more confident. But the Bills, you never know. So those are my three money line bets. And with the spread, it's Buffalo +3, Dallas +3.5, and Washington +1.5.
Yeah, no, I do like the Dallas. The only thing I'll say about Buffalo is we've seen Buffalo can't play without the lead. You know what I mean? So I think their defense is good enough, and I think New Orleans, not maybe used to the cold.
That's also been without weapons, though. Now they have their two best weapons supposedly in their lineup. So
yeah,
or two of their top three without McCoy.
Yeah, no, I just think that we've seen with like New Orleans, they can put points in bunches, and I just think that's the only thing I'd be worried about is if New Orleans scores on their very first possession, or even just like can put some points.
I just think that was a bad. Like last week, I think that was just a bad game from them. Thursday night football.
I think it was a bad game as well. But also we've seen even on all their losses, like they can't play from behind because they focus on the run so much, and it's just tough. That's the only thing. But I think it is a toss up for me. I just go with maybe the hotter team right now. But this is definitely a game that could go either way.
Okay, so those are all our bets. I have some of the ones that are a little bit closer, and AC has the ones with the bigger point spreads. I have the Chargers +5, Bengals +4.5, Jets -2.5, and then the money line bets of Washington, Dallas, and Buffalo. AC, you have the Rams.
I have the Rams. I have Detroit. I have New England, all favorites covering, and then I have Tampa Bay +2.5, which it's probably my least confident one, but I'm going with it.
Also throw in there that the one that I like the most out of yours are the Rams.
Yes, sure. And I do like that one too. And I do think like Detroit could be run, but I do like the Patriots as well.
Okay. All right. Any final comments here? Titan says, I'm okay. Eagles are going to go 9-7. Patriots are going 10-6. And Titans are going 11-5.
Wow, that would be a horrible final stretch for the Eagles there. That means they must lose.
Patriots.
That must mean they lose to the Giants and they lose to the Bears.
Yep. All right, we'll leave you on that.
Though, whenever he said might fall, Eagles never beat Russell Wilson. It's been 2 games. How can we really see a trend in 2 games?
And the Eagles weren't even good.
The Eagles weren't even good last year. You know what I mean? In Seattle, yes, they played a pretty close game for a team that wasn't even a playoff team. That was crap. That we had that Aguilar was our best receiver then, with no run game, and our defense, our secondary was brutal. Our pass rush wasn't as good. And then the other time they beat them in Seattle, Vince Young was their starting quarterback. So let's just say Vince Young has never beat Vince Young with the Eagles has never beat the Seahawks in Seattle ever. Shit.
All right, guys, we'll leave you on that one. From AC, it's Mitch of the Bottom Line View. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more if you're new. Also, I want to give a shout out to our boy Fitty Trent, who started his very own NHL channel. That's also going to be a sister channel of the Bottom Line View. So you'll see myself and AC probably around playoff time for the NHL, hopping on recaps there. Go in the description. There is a link under subscribe to our NHL channel and follow them on Twitter. You click on that, you'll see the intro video. Subscribe to that channel for NHL content if you're an NHL fan and you're a fan of what we did with the NHL content on this channel. Again, just a reminder, this channel has switched into a NFL channel. So, some people may be a little bit upset about that, but it's going to be, if you're an NFL fan, you should be pumped because we're going to have even more NFL coverage this season and going into the future. So once again, Mitch and AC, peace out.